It's a very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on Monday night. The show with no news. It is slow news week, as the thumbnail suggests. Of course, that doesn't stop channels, social media channels and mainstream media channels from spouting out a lot of garbage, and that's what seems to have been happening since the day that the transfer window shut. Of course, we had an avalanche, didn't we, of news stories during the transfer window, all these players that we were going to sign, and we ended up just signing one player on loan with no obligation or option to buy, and we called back James Ward-Prowse. And that was the extent of our business. I mean, what happened to all these strikers that we're going to buy, and these goalkeepers and defenders, and all the midfielders, and we had a player for every position, didn't we? And in the end, none of it materialized, and we got the player that we kind of knew that Graham Potter wanted, and that was Evan Ferguson. And of course, he got James Ward-Prowse back. And I'm going to talk about the team. I did this in the show that I did this morning, talked about, how the Graham Potter can use the squad and now available to him. And of course, we've got some players back from injury. But it's just that something's got to me over the past couple of days about the garbage that goes out on social media, and how even I, especially when I'm looking for news stories, when I'm looking for something to update you guys on, I'm looking at the news and I'm just thinking that's just utter garbage. And the latest one, of course, is that that Flamengo have apparently, the agent of Lucas Paqueta has gone to Brazil to talk to Flamengo about the signing of Lucas Paqueta, and apparently we only want £20 million for him in the summer. I mean, that's a story that happened a year ago. The whole issue about Flamengo offering us next to nothing for Lucas Paqueta actually happened a year ago. And someone thought, oh, you know what? I've got nothing to talk about. I can't fill my social media or mainstream media column up with anything. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll regurgitate. I'll just put a twist on a story that happened a year ago and put it out as news. Well, it's not news. And I guess that's why I get a little bit frustrated. And, it'd be lovely to do a show every day to update you on what's going on, around West Ham United. But unfortunately, when the transfer window shuts, and especially when there's no game to talk about, there's no news to give you. There are some things, and I'll give you some valid things. I'll give you a few updates, because we have signed a player, to be honest with you, in the last few days. And, so I'll give you some updates on that. But when it comes to the senior team, the interesting thing about the senior team is the return of 3 senior players from injury, which I think really, it's great timing and it really bodes well. So I'm going to give you an update on that as well, if you haven't watched the show I did this morning. But before I do that, and the rest of the show, to be honest with you, once I've gone through all the updates, will be questions and answers. So if you've got a question for me, then put a Q and then the question, so I can spot it pretty easily. So let's see who's in. You're very wrong, usual. I didn't even have that much to prepare for tonight, so bang on time. Good evening to you, Toho. How are you, mate? As you being, Stel will appear at 20. You're both wrong. Good evening, Anthony. I hope you're well. Stel, I should think the Academy is going to take up a good part of your show with a lot happening. Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. Congratulations to the under-18s. We talked about that last week, didn't we? As it was happening. It happened this time last week when they beat Man United in the under-18. Was it last week? I did a show and I mentioned it anyway. Oh, no, of course it was Tuesday night, because I did the West Ham Weekly on Tuesday, didn't I? Good evening to you, Toho, again. Very happy the Eagles won. Was buzzing from the rugby earlier. Was amused that Swifty did not know what to do when she was booed. Would have had a closer game, though, usual. You're talking about rugby. Whew. I did watch the Super Bowl, though, last night. I managed to stay up right through to the end. I don't know how. I kept nodding off, and I kept seeing that Philadelphia Eagles were like 50 points up or whatever. It's a weird scoring system that they have. Good evening to you, Foxes. I hope you're well. Who else have we got? Everton are 1 point behind us with a game in hand. I'll be really honest with you. Couldn't give a monkeys, to be honest. I'll tell you for why I couldn't care less. But everyone's getting a little bit overexcited with regards to, oh my God, David Moyes is going to embarrass us. Let him. It doesn't matter. What I'm seeing at the moment is Graham Potter looking at this squad, determining what he wants to keep at the end of this season, and then making appropriate decisions in the transfer window as to what we need. Do we need another keeper? Do we need another central defender? Do we need a right back? Blah, blah, blah. So for me, we're not going to go down. Absolutely, we're not. There are 4 teams really in a relegation battle, of which we're not one. And so they got a game in hand on us. If they win it, they go above us. It doesn't really bother me, to be honest. But there's some people that are suggesting, oh, well, look, should have kept David Moyes. I mean, after all, Graham Potter has only won 1 game and Moyes has won 3. Good luck to him. I think next season will be the test to see where we're at compared to Everton next season. If they're doing better, then I'll eat my hat. Who else have we got? Good evening to you, Anthony again. After Brentford, Arsenal away, Leicester at home, Newcastle home, Everton away, Wolves away. There you go. 6, 8, 10 points, 12 points there. Andy, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Will be good to get back footy when we take on Brentford. Can see us sneaking. I should hope we do a bit more than just sneaking. But I'll talk about the game coming up a little bit later on, especially the players available to Potter. Good evening, Mark. How are you, mate? Good evening to you, Mr. Lindsay. How are you? I'm keeping warm. I've got the heater on underneath. I'm waiting for. Oh yeah, that's on now. So I'll be able to turn the fan heater off and let the central heating do its business. Leslie, good evening, mate. How are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Good evening to you, Bonnie. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Juha, how are you, mate? Good evening to you, Daniela. I've been looking at the Liverpool transfer chat, and nothing that's saying, of course it's not, because someone needed to fill a column up, and there you go. That was tongue in cheek, by the way. My intro about Liverpool being in for Bowen and Flamengo being in for Paqueta, etc., because it's all rubbish. Good evening to you, Jack. I hope you're well. I'm doing a lot of tonight. Shows I haven't got a script in front of me. Darren, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Howard. How are you? I hope you're well, mate. Chris, good evening, mate. Brendan, good evening, Bridlington calling. 10-hour round trip scheduled for Saturday, but optimistic for an enjoyable game for a change. I think you're going to enjoy it, to be quite honest with you. I think someone said it's both managers are thinking managers, for Brentford and what we've got with Potter now. And it's going to be a technical game. It's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be an exciting game. One thing that we've got to do is make sure Brentford don't score early. They have a habit of doing that, haven't they? Steve, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to Paul. Good evening to you, Tony. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining. And to you, Stephen, as well. Good evening, Kaiser. How are you? And Mr. Pettigrew, good evening. Thank you very much, mate. You're going to stick around, I hope. Bill, how are you? I hope you're well. Who else have we got? Glenn, how are you, mate? Liverpool will sell Nunes and go out for Isaac. Very possible. If we sell Bowen, then that will be me done. We're not going to sell. Calm down. We're not going to sell Bowen. Good evening to you, Bruno. How are you, mate? We will look, let's get one thing straight. We are likely to sell a big name player in the summer. And I know everyone are going to lose their rag over it, but it is the way it goes. I know people are talking an awful lot about, FFP, financial fair play, and PSR and all that sort of stuff. And I think the figures have been put out over the years, how much we've spent. And we are. We're a team that needs to be careful. Unfortunately, we've got no choice, and we have to be careful. I don't think it's any secret that we're going to likely to sell a big player in the summer. Do I think it's Jared Bowen? Absolutely not. Do I think it's Lucas Paqueta? I don't think so. Why? Because he's got the FA hearing looming over his head. Now, that's been delayed until the summer, until the season's over. We don't know what's going to happen with that. If he gets found guilty, he ain't worth diddly squat, let alone 20 million. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Now, of course, that means all eyes are on Mohamed Kudus. There's a good possibility that we're going to have to sell Kudus. Would I be upset? Yes, I would, because I've got a feeling that, I think I said this a few weeks back, first season of Kudus being at West Ham, he was an unknown entity, and a lot of teams didn't know how to work him out, and he had a sensational season. this season, especially under Lopetegui, it's not gone well for him. He's improving. He's getting better. I think Potter knows how to get the best out of him, and I think we'll see that happen. But the worry for me is he'll get better again. You know, he's got that second season lull, and then he'll go out and smash it again next season. I hope it's in a West Ham shirt. I really do. Glenn, Liverpool will sell Nunes. Yep, done that one. Good evening to you, James. I hope you're well, mate. Good evening to you, John. How are you? Sick of wasting energy on fake news. Likewise. Absolutely likewise, John. But the unfortunate thing for me, I've got to read the damn stuff to make head or tail of whether it's worth, putting it in a show or not. Who else have we got here? Good evening to you, John. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Mr. Bong, how are you? I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Aaron. How are you? And who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Leon, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Paul. Gatesy, how are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining as well. Anthony, Glenn, Anthony Monster Munch Hands will sell us fans if you could get away with it. Anthony Monster Munch Hands will sell us fans if you could get away with it. Who's Anthony Monster? You need to explain that to me. Josh, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Looking forward to watching us play this Saturday. No sense of dread, which is odd. Good, because I think we've enjoyed ourselves in the last 5 games that Potter's been in charge. He's hit the ground running, as they say, and it's been fantastic to see. And he's got this team playing in the same way. It's got go out and enjoy yourselves, and I think in due course, I think teams are going to be afraid to be playing us. I said in the morning show, at 14 games to go, we could still make Europe. Forget relegation. We could still make Europe. Rex, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Paqueta to Flamengo for 20 million. What's Portuguese? We tried. Toho, Stel watched the Super Bowl, but did not realize my post was all about that. See, I didn't know. Who? I don't know. Mate, why did they get 6 points for running into the end zone or whatever it's called? And why did they get only a point for I don't understand it. Jerry, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Bill, read an article on Saturday suggesting Lanre Awesu, our 17-year-old goalkeeper, has been training with the first team, pictured with number 77 squad shown on the West Ham site. He did indeed. In fact, after the under-18s got through in the Premier League Cup, I think quite a few of them were training with the senior squad because, of course, Potter was there with his entourage, with his backroom staff, watching the game. Jack, excited for the game on Saturday. Not been excited for many games. This is great, isn't it? Isn't that fantastic that we're actually looking forward to a game? Do you remember a couple of months ago, people are going, I'm not going. I'm avoiding this game. I can't be asked. I'm not going. It's just going to be same old, same old. Now, it's fantastic that we've got this. Elbow, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. It's all about next season. It is. Well, there's still this season to go as well. Epic, good evening to you. Good Obsidian, good evening to you, mate. Sully out and still in, mate. I don't know. I wouldn't spend the money any wiser. I'd go out and buy all the players I love, thinking that they're going to be great, and they just all end up being just awful. And you'll call me another Moyes or Lopetegui. I wouldn't want that. Watched Earthy. I liked him, Ralph. Good first touch. I thought he found lots of space, but team didn't use him enough. Earthy's getting game time. Not enough of it, but he's getting game time. Stel, good evening, Colin. I hope you're well. Isn't it true that Fulkrug has had a setback? He's going to be out longer than expected. No, he's going to be out till April, which was expected in the first place because he wasn't coming back anytime sooner. Ronnie, question. How many points do you reckon we'll pick up from our last 14 matches? I've got to look at the fixtures, but I'm gonna stick my neck out and say we're going to win 6 out. I'm going to say we're going to win 7 out of the next 14 and draw 3. 7, 14, 21. There you go. 24 points plus the 27 we got. 44, 51 points in total. Paul, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, John. How are you? Who else have we got here? I'm very well, James. I hope you are too. Daniela, there are 4 teams worse than us, plus the Spuds are still shy. There you go. If anyone should be worried about going down, it should be them. No, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. On the side of caution, yeah, I know. Matthew, good question. If we were to sell Bowen, theoretically, what price tag? 100. Straight away. 100 mil. Good evening. Who else have we got here? Kudus will be gone, in my opinion. I think that too. If we do have to sell a player, I think it's going to be Kudus, to be quite honest with you. I don't want him to go, but when I'm looking at the players that we've got, I think I don't want to even say that could be surplus to requirements, but when you've got, I think what we'll do is we'll probably sell Kudus and buy a left-sided player, a similar player that plays out on the left. So, we'll have Bowen and Somerville, wherever Potter uses them, usually up front or on the right or whatever. I mean, it's great. Wasn't it interesting that Somerville played out on the right under Potter in this first game? But I think possibly if we sell Kudus, it'll be for someone that we buy that can play out on the left. Tiramisu or apple crumble and custard. Oh, depends. In the summertime, tiramisu. In winter, apple crumble and custard. Steve, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Darren, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Stell, can you say good day, mate, as you are coming across as an Aussie? Good day, mate. Does that sound like an Aussie? Toho, stop that. There you go. You already start. Has to be crumble. Well, no, doesn't have to be crumble. Crumble in the winter, apple crumble and custard in the winter, and tiramisu in the summer. There you go. Ronnie, question. Less than 14, more than 13. What did I say earlier? Now I'm going to forget what I told you. What did I say? 7 games, 21 points, plus another 3 draws, 24 points. So more than 14, but less than 28 and 27. What do you think? Steve needs to go and make apple crumble. Phil, question. Do you really think any club is going to spend 85 million on Kudus? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. He's having a bad season. I think he's going to finish strong. I do. I think Potter is going to find a way to get him to play to the level that we know he can play, because everybody else is going to know that he can play at that level. Everyone has seen it. He's having a bad season. Players go through that. Players go through bad seasons. And unfortunately, especially under Lopetegui misusing him, and especially David Moyes in the last few months of his tenure, using him out on the left, It just fell away. I just think he's going to finish strong, and then we'll be going. We don't want to sell him. David, evening Stell. Get rid of the end of contracts. Call the loanees back and promote them. Buy a striker, maybe a centre half. Well, there are 6 players who will end their contracts at the end of this season. 6 players. That includes Soler, who's on loan. And that's 7, including Ferguson as well. So we've got 5 players in the senior team that are contracts are running out. So we've got to think about what are we going to do? Are we going to replace them with some academy players, which I think we will? And then of those 6 players, how many of them are we going to try and keep on? Do we want to give the likes of Fabianski another year, Soufal another year, Creswell another year, Antonio, who I don't think is going to play Premier League football again another year. So we've got a lot of players who are ending their contracts, but they're players who are, with the greatest of respect, they're in they're not in the right age bracket. We've got Creswell, 34, Soufal, 32, Fabianski, 40, Antonio, 34, etc. We've got a lot of players who are ending their contracts. So we're going to have to buy players. But this is the perpetual thing with West Ham United. What have we done over the past 6, 7, 8 years? We've brought a manager in who wants to play a different style, and then because we want to accommodate him, we get him to spend money. Pellegrini, 100 million. How much did David Moyes spend in his tenure at West Ham? Some say 250 mil, give or take, something like that in his time at West Ham. 150 odd million or 140 million under Lopetegui. You see the pattern. The pattern is we keep getting a new manager in, has his own style, wants to bring all his players in, doesn't look at the youth. Fair play to Graham Potter for going, hang on a minute, I might have 1 or 2 players that can do something with the ball from the academy. And fair play to him, because all of a sudden we're starting to go, well, maybe 5 or 6 players that are going to be leaving at the end of their contracts. And of course, we will lose. We may lose the likes of Kudus or whatever, so you might have to be looking at yet again replacing about 8 or 9 players at the end of this season. But if we can get at least 3, maybe 3 players from the academy, all of a sudden you're starting to think, okay, so we don't need 9 players anymore. We might need 5, or 6 or whatever it may be, and I'm trusting now the process that we do. We should have done this process years ago, where we've got We tried with regards to Steiden and all that sort of stuff, getting a technical director in, director of football, whatever you want to call him, and we tried to emulate that process, but it was all a bit mishmash. And it was interesting with whoever watched the Ironcast video the other day with Graham Potter, he talked about Carl McCauley, and that they've been together throughout a number of years, starting off in Sweden, was it Östersunds, moving on to Swansea, Brighton, etc. And they think alike. He talked about how important it was to have a head of recruitment now that he's called, doesn't matter, Steiden, technical director, director of football, whatever it may be. It's someone that's going out looking for players, someone that's going out to understand the ethos of what the head coach wants to do and looking at certain players. I need to turn this heater off now. Looking at certain players that can fit into a particular system. And perhaps by default, it wasn't by design, but I think by default, because we had to get rid of Lopetegui, we might finally have that. There's talk about Dan Ashworth coming in the summertime. He's a free agent. I think whatever he was paid off at Man United, I think that will be gone by the summer. So he might be available as the director of football. Those three, I talked about it, the dream team of Ashworth, McCauley and Potter back together again at West Ham could be an interesting thing that what might happen in the summer. And between them, they can go and find the gems. When Caicedo went to Brighton, what did he come for? 4 million or something. It was a low amount of money. Cucurella, a low amount of money. Trossard, etc. All these players that Mitoma, who came for a small amount of money. What did they turn down in the window? A big amount of money for Mitoma, and they said no. And what I'm hoping for now, even if Ashworth doesn't come, is that we're going to have a similar sort of process in the summertime where we go out and find ourselves the pearls. We were looking for the pearls. Unfortunately, Timmy didn't find them in Brazil. Don't know what else he found in Brazil, but he didn't find the pearls. Well, Guilherme might come good, and I hope he actually does. But that's what I'm looking at in the summer. So, get rid of the contracts, call the loanees back. Yeah, absolutely. Promote them, buy a striker, etc. We may have to buy a few more than just a couple of players, but I've got faith in the process now with McCauley coming in, with Potter being there. They understand each other. They're going to know what sort of players they're looking for. They're going to go and get out and get us. We're not going to end up buying 30, 40, 50 million pound players. If we have to buy 6-7 players, I bet you the most we'll spend is 25, 30 at most, 30 mil at most. But we might have a squad that Potter will want, and younger players. We've got to get rid of with the greatest of respect to them, the older players. We've got to bring that age average age bracket down quite considerably. Sorry, long answer to a point that you made there, Stephen. Evening, mate. Much rather watch Potter than Moyes ball. Looking forward for the football to come. There is hope. There is. Andrew. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Mark. Do you think a Gerd will fit well with Potter's style of play? Yes, I do. Interestingly, yes, I do. Ironically, I thought that a Gerd would have fitted in well with Lopetegui's style of play. But clearly, I don't know. In the show that I did last week, the blame game, I called it. Lopetegui didn't want a Gerd, and Steiden didn't want a Gerd. Well, one of them didn't want a Gerd. And then Steiden said, I wanted to keep him. And Lopetegui said, I didn't. Oh, fuck knows. But yes, I think he would fit in, ironically. Leon, if they are looking at 40 mil for Ferguson, surely 60 at least. It's got to be. He's got a release clause of 85. If anybody wants him, they've got to pay the money. I think he will come good. He's just having a bad season. I think he will come good. Who else have we got here? Daniel. I don't think there are that many teams really interested in Kudus. Yes, they're fans, but not the clubs. Plus, I think the price will be too high in the summer. You might see a foreign team come in for him. You might see him, a bid coming in for him in Saudi. They seem to be buying everybody else, and 85 million to them will be a drop in the ocean. Brian, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I'm one of the few that believe Potter is going to get a 7th or 8th place. That's ambitious. Why not? If we stay healthy and Ferguson puts in half decent performances, I think it's possible. Hop on the bandwagon. We could go on a great winning streak. Could start from this Saturday. There are going to be some difficult games, but Brentford aside, I'll tell you who I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to playing Arsenal. Oh, yes. I really am, because I think we're going to actually give them a game. We're finally, unlike the way it was with Moyes and Lopetegui, etc., we're going to go out and try and give these teams a game. And wouldn't it be nice, hey? So long as VAR and the referees behave themselves, because of course we can't beat these teams, if VAR and the referees get involved. Darren, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Going on Saturday, really looking forward to seeing the Potter effect. Isn't that great? Stephen, good evening, mate. Here on time for a change. Evening to you as well, mate. Matt, happy Monday night to you as well, mate. Don't think Bowen is going. Look, it was facetious. There was no news, so I thought, well, why not just say that Bowen's going to Liverpool? That woke a lot of people up. Steve, Potter has put a smile back on some of the players' faces. There's a shift in the air. I'm glad you put the F in there. Seems to have slowed that deepening gloom back to our usual pessimistic selves. Absolutely not. Anthony, I hear Skulls is now official in the full squad. He was in the stands. Well, he was. But Casey and Orford playing in the under-21s doesn't mean they're not going to be part of it. I mean, what will happen, when we've got all our players back from injury, you will see fewer and fewer academy players in the senior team. But I think this is where they make their mark. Skulls has made his mark. There's absolutely no reason why Casey and or Orford and Freddie Potts, when he comes back from loan, can't make their mark as well. Andrew, with the Gerd playing so well in Spain, there's a good chance his price, possibly 40 million, will have gone up if we sell him in the summer. I think about 30, we'll get our money back. That's a really good point. We may not have to sell one of our big star names. A Gerd might go for around 30 million and we could scrape together another 20, 30, 40 million with other, peripheral players. Who knows? And then that way we won't have to get rid of the likes of Kudus, etc. It'd be nice if we didn't have to. Glenn, still, I was replying to Anthony. You said we wouldn't sell Bowen, to which I replied, Monster. Oh, I got you. Thank you, mate. Bill, thoughts on the technical director role vacated by Steiden? Now links to Ashworth being spoken. Would Sullivan hand over the keys for Ashworth? I think it'd be interesting. You see, the thing is with Sullivan, and whether you like it or not, and I know you're not going to like it, but I'm going to say it anyway, it's his business. He owns the club, or he's a majority shareholder of the club. Now, like any good businessman, or bad businessman for that matter, when you think things are going wrong, you want to take control and you want to, make sure that things are back on track again. Now, that's all Sullivan's done. I don't agree with it. I would rather he didn't get interfere. But answering your question, do I think he will hand over the keys to Ashworth? It's possible. One of the reasons why Sullivan brought Steiden in was because he was getting old. He didn't want to be involved in the day-to-day. He wanted to take it a bit easier. And he was hoping that Steiden would have just done that. It hasn't worked out. Doesn't matter what reasons. He's gone now. Doesn't matter, And I think maybe Sullivan thought Steiden would have been that safe pair of hands. Would he think that Ashworth would be? I don't know, is the honest answer. It's possible. It's quite possible that he might go, under Potter's recommendation. Maybe Brady will have a say in this as well. Bring him in. Let's see what he can do. Director of football. It's been proven, hasn't it? They did it at Brighton. That's why all these people have gone to Chelsea and Man United's and Newcastle's and all that sort of stuff. They wanted a bit of Brighton, didn't they? They wanted a bit of the success that was building up at Brighton. And yes, I think it's possible. Would he allow him to actually take over the reins properly? I think what you've got to do with the likes of Sutherland is prove straight away that you know what you're doing. And if you can prove straight away that you know what you're doing, he'll let you carry on. If he thinks it's all going a little bit awry, that's when he steps in. And the trouble is he has a tendency to step in a little bit too soon. Did he step in too soon to sack Lopetegui? Some would say it took him too long to sack him. Did he step in too soon to sack Steiden? It didn't quite work out. For whatever reason, it didn't quite work out with Steiden. Could it work with Ashworth? Yeah, there's a good chance. But if Ashworth came in, he'd have to hit the ground running. He would have to come in the summer and would have to get the 4, 5, 6 players, all at a relatively low price, good young prospects who would also hit the ground running and make a success of it. And then, just then, Sullivan might go, yeah, this is all right. I'll step back. Maybe. Will we sell Areola? That's a good question. And I don't know. I like Areola. I had quite a spat earlier on. I don't know why I go on Twitter. It serves me no purpose whatsoever because every time I go on, I end up having an argument with someone. I put in I'm going to show you one of the lineups that I put up there, and I said maybe this, and everyone was apoplectic. Oh my god, what's wrong with you, mate? Someone was talking about the position I put Bowen in, and I'll explain when I put it up on the screen. And others were. This other bloke went, Areola, you having a? I'm like, well, hang on a minute. He's back in the team. I said, so what? Do you think then that Potter was wrong and Lopetegui was right? Potter was wrong to bring him back and Lopetegui was right to drop him. And the bloke went, what's your point? Well, my point is just that. I like Areola, but do I think we might sell him? It's possible. I think goalie is one of the areas that I think we might be looking at because we already know the type of goalkeeper that Potter likes. Potter uses a goalie in a kind of in a back three. He plays the back three centre backs, but he uses the goalie almost like a fourth centre back. So he brings the ball out a little bit, use up a bit of space outside the 18-yard box and passing it around. And he wants someone with confidence to be able to do that. Fabianski can't do it. Areola maybe can be taught to do it, but we haven't seen a lot of that because the previous head coaches and managers at West Ham didn't play that kind of system. So I think Areola's got the rest of the season to demonstrate that he can be the goalie that Potter wants him to be. But if he doesn't, then yes, it's quite possible that we will sell him in the summer and go for a new keeper. Leon, I think Ashworth is a waste of money. The dwarf won't hand over power unless he's a stooge. Well, I think I've explained that. So tell me what you think of what I said. And I know you wrote that earlier, so that's not what you think of what I said 2 minutes ago. John, I like to think that a Gerd will fit Potter. Will fit Potter as I think he's a talent, but a Gerd doesn't fit the Premier League. He can't handle the physicality. I do agree with that, and I did say that myself. I did say that I think quite possibly league like Italian league, Spanish league suits a Gerd much better for the physicality side. I agree with that, but for the style of play, then yes, he would. George, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Super Avlomeni or Drahana. Oh, shit. Super Avlomeni, mate. Super, mate, it's Greek. These are soups. These are traditional Greek soups. Super Avlomeni. My mum used to make Drahana. I was all right. You have to be really ill to have Drahana, don't you? Isn't that, no, was that the Super Avlomeni? No, it's still Super Avlomeni, mate. Sorry about that, people. Lee. I'm with you still. Potter will get the best out of all our players. I totally agree. Paul, good evening, mates. Hope the academy players are tied down to long. They are indeed. They are. We have lost one, I think the other day, but we've signed one or two as well. Stephen, question. What's everyone's thoughts on Guilherme? I really want to keep him as I think he has potential to be a superstar. We've kept him. Maybe in the summer he might go. But at this moment in time, Potter is going to give him the opportunity to demonstrate. I thought he looked all right when he came on against Chelsea. He put the shits up them a little bit. He's got pace, got a bit of skill. Colin, stalemate. I look forward to the weekend match. I can actually see great things happening with Potter. I feel at the end of the next season that we would qualify for Europe. Yeah, don't disagree. Steve, Guilherme, I want to see more of him on the pitch. I can see all the apple crumble and rhubarb. Rhubarb, disgusting. Who'd eat that stuff? Jack, I believe in Potter. I think he's a good manager, speaks very well. I believe he will get the best out of the players. Looking forward to the future. Absolutely. Who else have we got? Razor, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. As much chance Bowen going to Liverpool as Farage ever becoming Prime Minister. Thank God. Can you imagine Danny living there or Danny allowing Liverpool, of all places, to get Bowen from London? Mate, tongue in cheek. I knew it would grab a few, grab the attention of a few. I know he won't go. We all know he won't go. Who else have we got? Vonnie. Missing not having an FA Cup game this weekend, but looking forward to a decent cup run under Potter next season. Phil, we could easily beat the likes of Bristol, Kidderminster, and Wimbledon. I was at Kidderminster, and boy, I was at Wimbledon as well. Did I go to the Bristol game? Can't remember. Elbow. World's gone mad. I did go to the Bristol game, but we live in hope that the Spuds get demoted. Imagine that. Bill, I don't actually think midfield is a priority with our academy players, mainly Potts. Yeah, inclined to agree. Depends on who leaves in the summer, but inclined to agree. Definitely we need a striker, depending on what happens with Ferguson and our defence. Maybe that's all we need to do. Daniela. Stel in the chat, who in the academy will step up next season? Freddie Potts, straight away. I think Freddie Potts will. Ollie Skulls obviously will. And then it's, it depends on what happens with the likes of Orford, the likes of Caelan Casey, and so on. Now, I also like Gideon Kodua, who's out on loan at Wycombe Wanderers. I think he's a player that we should look at. He's not got the headlines of the George Earthies or the Freddie Potts, but he's a quiet. He was the captain of the under-18s when we won the cup, and I like him. He's a solid player, and of course there is George Earthy, etc. Not everyone's going to step up. Even Potts admitted that. Potter admitted that in the interview. He said not all the academy players will step through, but even if we get three, imagine if we get three through. That would be fantastic. Bill, one more centre back, and Mavro shit, but if we get a Gerd, we'll be fine. We'll still need a fourth there. Unless, of course, we keep Mavropanos and a Gerd when he comes back as well. Who else have we got here? Leon. Do we class Potts, Skulls and Co. as academy now playing with the full team? Yes, I guess they're still registered officially to the academy, but I think Skulls, has been mentioned earlier, will play more regularly for the senior team now. I would like to hope that Potts does as well. Yes, please, people. 257 people watching. If you're new to the channel, please do become a subscriber to the channel. Costs nothing to subscribe. All the content is free. And please do hit the like button of this show, because the algorithms make it go mad, and then more people watch in the end and all that stuff. Mark, I didn't see Potter as a Taylor Swift fan, but then I didn't see you as a Dolly Parton fan still. That's because I'm not. Question. No, absolutely not. Graham, how long does the Gerd have left on his contract? I think it's still about 2 years after he comes back. I'm pretty certain it is. Rob, Sullivan didn't bring in Steiden, no way. I know there's this myth that it was Kretinsky. I don't believe it because at the end of the day, Sullivan has veto because he's got the largest share on most decision making. So I know people keep going on about it was Kretinsky. Well, if it was Kretinsky, then why did Sullivan manage to sack him? Who else have we got? Colin. Stel, I actually feel we'll beat the Arsenal. I'll be putting £40 on our great team, West Ham, to win. Mate, you're confident. Jerry, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. And good evening to you, Steve. How are you, mate? Singing Heatwave song. Well. That is an old song. I've got that on vinyl somewhere, actually. Razor, true, Stel. Sully is a businessman. He does spend money, just not so much of his own. No owner of any football club spends their own money. Remember that. Ashworth in Sully sell up. Thanks for some things, but you're like Moyes at Dithera. He does spend money. West Ham United do spend money. Unfortunately, they've not spent it wisely. That's been the problem with West Ham. And that's why I've got a bit more confidence with Potter and Macaulay coming in. And if they bring in Ashworth, who knows? It's a big if. But I'll be even more confident. But mind you, apparently Man United got rid of Ashworth because he wanted Gareth Southgate to take over rather than Ruben Amorim. I bet they wish they got Gareth Southgate now, don't they? Good evening to you, Daz. I hope you're well. David, good evening to you. Forgot a Gerd, so no need for a centre-half. Fit in perfectly with Kilman, Taribo, Casey, Mavropanos, and the way what Potter wants to play. Good shout. Yeah, maybe. We wouldn't need a centre-back either. Yeah, I like a Gerd. I like him. But I do agree with, I think it was John that said it, the physicality of the Premier League is that, can he do it? Steve, in the summer, we need for sure a goalkeeper, a left back, a centre half, a box-to-box midfielder, and 2 strikers. We do need Kelleher, and so do an awful lot of other Premier League teams as well. Who else we got here? Sharky, I don't think Liverpool will sell him. Is he not at the end of his contract? I could be wrong there. I might be wrong. I agree with what you say, still, Leon, but I don't trust Sullivan. Sullivan has just got to learn to let go, and he can't let go. That's the problem with him, and his interfering is him thinking that he's putting things right, and he messes it up even more, doesn't he? Who else have we got here? Leslie, Stel. Areola is not good enough and is on a big wage for backup keepers, so sell. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. You're probably right. And maybe there is a better keeper who's better suited to Potter's style of football. And if Potter decides that that's what he wants, then yes, I agree. He will get sold. Howard, otters, noses, or ocelot spleens? Neither. Bill, Andre Onana sounds like a perfect goalkeeper. That type of player is a newspaper headline maker for all the wrong reasons, and keep him where he is. Paul, how does this work? We have an obligation to buy Todibo. We do indeed. But Man United thought to be interested in buying him for next season. I believe this to be press bullshit. You've hit the nail on the head. But is this actually possible? No, it's not. Because the obligation is already triggered. We are obliged to spend 30 odd million pounds on Todibo at the end of this season. That's it. The obligation is cast in stone. It's in the contract. That we can't get out of that, and neither can Nice. Now, it's possible that what we can then do, the minute we buy him, it's not been unheard of. The minute we buy him, we can turn around to Man United and go, do you want him? 60 mil. We could do that, of course. Now, we all know why Man United couldn't get him in the first place. It's because Nice and Man United were in the same European competition. And because of, what's his name, who owns Man United and owns Nice as well, it was a conflict of interest, so couldn't buy him. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are talking about the player, Krupi, or whatever, the striker, that went from Lorient to Bournemouth. And the owner of Lorient is owner of Bournemouth as well, or he's got shares or whatever. And then people said, well, how come that's working out? But that's because they're not competing in the same European competition. That's why Bournemouth could get that striker. However, at the end of this season, then yes, once we pay the obligation to Nice for Todibo, we can turn around the next day and go, Man United, you want him? Here he is, 60 mil or 50 mil or whatever. Are we going to do that? Of course we're not going to bloody do that. Right. Good evening to you. I hope you're well. Colin, still, I do actually feel we need a new number one goalie. I would go after Kelleher, but feel it will cost a fair amount of money. Why do I think Kelleher's out of contract? I might be wrong. Someone look it up for me and let me know. Toho. Plymouth away to City. FA pandering to Pep is a conspiracy for sure. They lost though, didn't they? Q. Is Budgie still? I don't know. Usual. Is he out on the town? Who else have we got here? Dads. Good evening to you. I hope you're well. Quick question. If you had to make any alterations to the London Stadium, what would you change? Knocking it down isn't an option. Well, apparently, I talked about this. I can't remember how long ago, about a year or so ago. Apparently, an architect designed a stadium within the stadium, and said, you can do this. You can keep the casing and then rebuild, literally just rebuild the seating. And apparently some architect design came out. It can be done. It would be flatter going out. It's not like a stadium where, most stadiums are sort of like, they're quite built up, aren't they? Where this will sort of like almost not curve up, but it'll be flatter. So it can be done. You can't dig down because unfortunately, what's there? A moat or it's water underneath. So you can't dig down, but you can build a stadium, a casing within the stadium is my understanding. You'd have to change the roof, I think, as well. But it can be done. So yes, that's what I would do. Can't knock it down. You can't dig down. So you can build a state, but we've got to get rid of athletics in order to do that. And I think under the current mayor of London, I don't think he wants that to happen. Obama will come back. No. If he does, I think Man City will charge us an awful lot of money for a player that we let slip through our fingers. There was someone I was going to say good evening to you, Christine. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got? Wayne. Evening to you. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Who else have we got? Steve. Warm fudge cake always with people. Are you all hungry or what's going on here? Leslie, I just hit the like button and it did not hurt. Try it. Thank you very much, Leslie. Hit that like button, people, and also subscribe to the channel if you've yet to become a subscriber. Like I said, it's free of charge, costs you nothing to watch the content of this channel. Some people don't like it, but no, I'm not to everyone's taste. Ian, I'm late again. Good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. You're 45 minutes late. I mean, you never see me turn up late for my own show, do you? Watched the lads last Friday evening, 1-0 against Arsenal. Last 3 games, hope we aren't becoming Arsenal in disguise. That takes me on to a bit of update news. So why don't we do it? The academy first. And thank you. Oops, wrong one. What did I do there? You know what I did? I didn't put up my let's go. Where is it? There. Give me a second. That. Right. And come back to there. Right, Arsenal, West Ham, played Arsenal in the Premier League 2 on Friday night. And yet another win for the under-21s. That's, I think, 3 wins in a row, something like that in the league over the past few games. And they've shot up to 4th place in the league. All of a sudden, they're doing exceptionally well. And fair play to them. It was quite a tough game. Arsenal kind of had the better of it for most of the game. But West Ham United, after, going through the first half, with Arsenal being on top, got to admit it, they were on top. In the second half, we got an early goal. Caelan Casey got the winner. And that is the 7th win in 8 games in all competitions. And now West Ham, as I said, are now in 4th place in the under-21s Premier League. Man City head the league with 34 points. 2nd place, Fulham, Man United 3rd, and West Ham 4th. Man United, Fulham, and West Ham have all got a game in hand over Man City. Look, we've got 27 points. So the best that we can do if we win our game in hand is close that gap to Man City. We're only just behind Man United on goal difference. We're both on 27 points each. So well done to them. They're doing really well. Look, a resilient performance. Caelan Casey, Lewis Orford got much needed game time. I think that's clever from Graham Potter. He's not just saying to them, all right, lads, you haven't played in the senior team, so you just languish at just do training. He's saying to them, go and get some game time and go and play for the under-21s, which I think it's really, really good. Next game for the under-21s is at home against Blackburn. I think it is. Yes. So that's their game, next game at home to Blackburn. Blackburn aren't doing that well. So I'm kind of hoping that should be another easy 3-point. Well, it's never easy. It should be another 3 points. The under-18s haven't played since their game, has already been mentioned, against Man United last week, where they got through in the Premier League Cup to the semi-final. So well done to them. No women's game to talk about either, so I'll spare you that too. How about injury updates? Well, as mentioned in this morning's show, not injury updates, loan news. Sorry, my mistake. I'm looking at the wrong script. Where are we? Where's the loan news? There it is. A bit of loan news, and I'll talk about injury updates as well. Christian Hegyi, playing for Hungarian side Debreceni, got a clean sheet. Their 2nd win in a row since he's been there. 2 games he's played, 2 games, 2 wins for Christian Hegyi. That moves him out of the relegation zone in the Hungarian league. So well done to him. He's doing really well. I like him. We talk about goalkeepers, and I think Christian Hegyi is one to watch. He's already made the senior Hungarian squad. He hasn't played for the senior Hungarian team, but he's already made the senior Hungarian squad. It'd be interesting to see what happens with him in the close season. He's been out on a couple of loan spells, and he's always done well. In the Championship, Freddie Potts and Portsmouth fell to a 2-1 defeat, despite a decent away performance against Sheffield United. In what was arguably their best away display of the season, Potts impressed yet again with his composure in possession, pressing, and distribution. You can see I'm reading the script, can't you? In the Championship again, George Earthy featured for just over half an hour in Bristol City's 1-0 home defeat to Swansea, only their 2nd league loss since Christmas. In FA Cup 4th round, Gideon Kodua was introduced as a second half sub as Wycombe Wanderers saw their journey come to an end in a penalty shootout against Preston North End. In League One, Callum Marshall made his 20th start of the season. Now, this is what you call a loan spell. 20th start for Huddersfield Town. They were held to a goalless draw against Reading. Marshall was deployed in a different role. Instead of playing up front, he was more creative role as a right winger. Now, we've loaned out quite a few more of our academy players. One of them, Junior Robinson, was sent on loan in the January window, and he made his debut at the weekend for Sutton United against Van Raamann National League team, Hartlepool United, and played for just over an hour in a 2-1 defeat. The fullback played a key role in his side's opener just seconds after the restart, taking a quick throw in, which led to a goal. It counts. Another player who's just gone on loan, Regan Clayton, also made his National League debut, playing 77 minutes as Dagenham and Redbridge held Yeovil Town to a 1-1 draw. And in National League South, Mason Terry kept another goalie who's doing quite well. All right, it's National League South, but it's getting game time. That's the important thing. Mason Terry kept a clean sheet as Hornchurch recorded their first league win of 2025, securing 2-0 victory over Bath City. And people have already mentioned him already in Spain's La Liga. After playing the full 90 minutes in midweek, as Real Sociedad defeated Osasuna in the Copa del Rey quarterfinals, Naifaguerd completed another 90 minutes in a 2-1 league win over Espanyol. Isn't that great that we've got players out on loan doing great, especially when we need players? Right, we've signed a player. I told you earlier on. Josh Landers, West Ham, delighted to welcome Josh Landers to the academy. The 17-year-old joins West Ham from Scottish Premier League side Hibernian after a successful trial period in January and is linked up with Mark Robson's under-21 development squad. We've loaned out quite a lot of players, and so it's really good to see. I think Dollahan, I can't remember his first name, Brad Dollahan was loaned out as striker, and Josh Landers has basically taken his place. So good luck to him. Born in the small town of Innerleithen in the Scottish borders, Landers always dreamed of one day playing in the Premier League for West Ham United. I made that bit up. A tireless centre forward who can run the channels and hold up play, Landers has been a regular goal scorer ever since joining the Hibernian Academy from Musselburgh, Windsor at the age of 10, consistently playing for his above his age group. He was 14 when he made his debut for Hibs under 18s, and 15 when he played in the UEFA Youth League. Having signed his first professional contract with Hibs in the summer of 2023, Landers made his senior debut in the Scottish League Cup semi-final against Aberdeen at Hampden Park last November. Another player who actually we've now got on a contract, his first professional contract, academy midfielder Aaron Kamara has signed his first professional contract with the club just days after helping the under-18s to qualify for the Premier League semi-finals with a penalty shootout against Man United. Kamara put pen to paper at Chadwell Heath Academy training ground. At least now we can say we've got a Kamara in the squad. Having begun his footballing journey at his local team, Peckham Town, Kamara was scouted by West Ham during his time at Southend United's academy. Following a successful trial period, he joined the Hammers at under-14 level, continuing his development at Chadwell Heath. A midfielder in his formative years, the 17-year-old has shown versatility for this in the under-18s, having been deployed in every position across the back line and sometimes in the same game, as well as his preferred defensive midfield role. Sometimes I shouldn't just read things out, should I? Anyway, that's good news as well. So we've got some really good prospects that have signed up for West Ham, their first professional contracts, as well as getting new players in. Right. What about some injury news? Well, for those of you who watched my show this morning, you'd know that I talked about 3 players who have come back. Now, Rush Green on Sunday, as the players were walking into Rush Green, they were asked to predict who was going to win the Super Bowl. And you can see on the left-hand side there, Alvarez was there, Lucas Paqueta. They both missed the Chelsea game through injury. But a third player was Jean-Claire Todibo. He was also back. Now, my understanding is that Paqueta and Alvarez should be fit for the game against Brighton, against Brentford at the weekend. And it's touch and go whether Todibo will be. I think what we'll probably see with Todibo, he'll probably start on the bench. And if they feel it's right to bring him on, then he'll feature from the bench, only just to ease him in. But it's great to see that Todibo is back alongside Paqueta and Alvarez. But as I said this morning, that gives Graham Potter some selection issues for the first time. You know, we've had a lot of players out injured over the season. And yes, we've still got Crescencio Somerville out, and we've still got Fulkrug out as well. And of course, Mikel Antonio being out too. But with those 2 other players, Crescencio Somerville, I know last week we said that he could be out for a further 8 weeks. Now, my understanding is that 8 weeks included the couple that he's already been out. I could be wrong. And we heard earlier, apparently, poor old Fulkrug has been set back. He was never set back. He was never coming back before end of March in the first place. So they're due back. Well, Crescencio Somerville is likely to be back sooner. But great to have now as a bigger squad that Graham Potter can select from. As I said in the show this morning, this is the lineup that Graham Potter had available to him, or he put out. Alvarez pulled out at the last minute, and that gave Andy Irving his first start for West Ham United. But you look at on the right hand side, Alvarez was injured, Tadebo's injured, Fulkrug injured, Somerville, Paqueta injured, Antonio injured. That's Ezra Myers, by the way, just above Antonio. He's the young player who pulled off that fantastic last minute challenge in the Premier League, in the Cup last week for the under-18s. So you could see how many players were out injured, and yet, you know, we did rather well against Chelsea. I think we did exceptionally well against Chelsea, and we were cheated. Let's be honest, we were cheated. But look at the bench. So what it means is when you've got players out injured, it means that you've got your youth, you know, Casey, Scarles in there, and Orford as well. But then there were one or two players that you sort of ask yourselves, if we had a fully fit squad, would the likes of Danny Ings still be on the bench? Would the likes of Rodriguez still be on the bench? You know, you've got to ask, and why have two goalies on the bench as well? I wonder if that's got anything to do with homegrown players that we had Fotheringham on the bench. I might be wrong. I don't know. But, you know, you look at that, you look at the number of players. So when you start getting, you know, just the three that I've mentioned, Alvarez, Tadebo, and Paqueta back, then you look on the left-hand side, on the subs bench, who's going to come out? Because you can name 9 subs. Who's going to drop out with Alvarez, Tadebo, and Paqueta back? So let's do the obvious one first. You probably put Casey out in order to have Tadebo in, like for like, centre-back for centre-back. Alvarez, you could possibly say keep Orford in the team or keep Orford on the bench and drop Rodriguez. We could see what Potter did against Chelsea. You know, Alvarez was injured. He could have easily put Rodriguez, but he favoured Andy Irving instead. So I'm wondering how much game time Rodriguez will get for the remainder of this season. And I'm thinking maybe Orford might stay, and then you'd put in Alvarez in his place, or in the squad, not necessarily on the bench. And then you look at Paqueta, and then you start thinking to yourself, well, we've just signed a striker. So would that mean that Danny Ings will stay on in the squad? I don't know, because this is what you can have. This is one of many. This is the one I put up on Twitter, and people just went mad. How can you put Bowen as a wing back? Let me explain it so you can understand before you ask me the same question. But look at what we've got all of a sudden. With the 3 players coming back from injury, James Ward-Prowse coming back as well, and also Ferguson on loan. Look at the squad, look at the first 11, and then look at the bench. All of a sudden, you've got good options on the bench. I've kept Guilherme in there. I have taken out Lewis Orford, but you could keep him in there in place of, I don't know, him or Irving? I don't know. Him or Guilherme, maybe. But after what Guilherme showed against Chelsea, you'd probably say to yourself, the guy's got pace. Keep him. Use him as a sub. Andy Irving, we know he's a safe pair of hands. You've got James Ward-Prowse there as an option. You've got defenders there as options. All of a sudden, it's looking pretty rosy. And then you still look on the right-hand side, and you've still got the likes of Crescencio Somerville and Fulkrug yet to come back. So we've got quite a few options. Now, I'll try and explain to you why I put Bowen as the wing-back. If you remember the first game against Aston Villa in the FA Cup, who played that wing-back role? Crescencio Somerville. If you remember, Somerville played there, Wan-Bissaka played behind him, and Kudus played in front of him. You had that pace and skill all down that right-hand side. So why not someone like Bowen? If you think about Bowen's game, Bowen goes back. He defends quite a lot. Even if he's named in a sort of a front 3, he's expected to sort of track back, and he's always doubling up with the likes of Wan-Bissaka and helping him out. So why not have him there as a wing back. So have in that sort of right midfield role with Wan-Bissaka behind him. He could and you've got Kudus in front of him. That's not bad, is it? You haven't got the same on the other side. Kilman doesn't necessarily sort of overlap or anything like that, but you've got Emerson that does that, and Emerson drops back, and Emerson's got good understanding with Paqueta, so you can see that working. And look what's surrounding Ferguson. You've got Bowen wide, Emerson wide, can put the crosses in, etc. Mind you, they don't do that many crosses, do they? I'll tell a lie. And you've got the likes of Kudus and Paqueta supporting Ferguson. You know, you've got options. You can do something different. You can change it round. You can maybe start Ferguson from the bench and leave Bowen up there and then bring us another centre-back, maybe Mavropanos in with Todibo at the back and alongside Kilman, and put Wan-Bissaka as the wing-back as he's done over the past few games, and then Kudus and Paqueta either side of Bowen. You could do that. So you've got options. You've got other options as well. You've got the likes of, if you weren't sure about putting Kilman on the left side of the back three, he does exceptionally well in the centre. You could see that he's done exceptionally well. So maybe you could leave Cresswell in the lineup, leave Kilman in the middle. Should have put Todibo on the right, but if Todibo's not available yet, then maybe Mavropanos on the right hand side, or stick to what he had against Chelsea with the likes of Soufal and Cresswell either side of Kilman, and then the rest of your lineup much the same as what it was, apart from Alvarez replacing Irving in the middle. You can change formation. You can go with a 4 at the back if Todibo's available. You can have Todibo partnering up with Kilman, Wan-Bissaka and Emerson either side, and you've got that pivot in the middle with Souček and Alvarez, and then you bring Ferguson in. And look what he's got around him. You've got Bowen, Paqueta, Kudus just behind. All of a sudden, you've got options. You've got an awful lot of options. You can put Kudus on the right. You can mix these players around, is what I'm suggesting. So he can go with a 4-2-3-1. He could even go with a 4-1-4-1. He can put Alvarez as the pivot, 4 at the back, and then, Kudus, Bowen, Souček, bring him a little bit further forward, and Paqueta and Ferguson up front. You've got options, and this is what, just by bringing in 2 players in the transfer window, okay, one coming back in Ward-Prowse and bringing in Ferguson, and players coming back from injury, all of a sudden you've got a lot of choices. You've got an awful lot of choices that you can choose from. And that's why I'm a little bit more confident about moving forward as well. Yes, of course, you can still get injuries, etc. Of course you can. But we've had our fair share so far. I'd like to think in the last 14 games that we've got in the league, maybe we'll have more players back before the end of the season and really go for it. What options we've got is superb. I think it's fantastic. And that's only by bringing in. So we didn't need a whole host of players in the January transfer window. Just bringing one player back in Ward-Prowse strengthens our squad structure, and bringing in Ferguson gives us options up front. I think that's really clever and that's really good. Yes, of course, we're going to do business in the summer, but maybe, as people have suggested, it might not have to be another revolution. Maybe there will be just tweaks. Maybe we only get, we keep all our players and we only get maybe 3 players in, using the academy, keeping the likes of Kudus, Bowen, Paqueta and all that sort of stuff, and then just adding 2 or 3 might be all we need. Isn't that better than completely revolutionizing the squad all the time? And then they take time to gel. They take time to bed in. And you've spent 140 odd million pounds and you're expecting them to do really well. This is what happened in the summer. 140, 150 million pounds that we spent. We expected the team to do well. Who knows what would have happened if Potter had been in charge of the summer? Would we have bought that many players in? Would we have bought that many players in for the prices that we paid? Probably not. We might have been in a better position than we are now. Let's see. What comments have you guys got? Like I said, if you want to ask me a question, put a Q and then the question, please. So, Daniela. Liverpool will have... Darren. Sorry, mate. My apologies. Liverpool will have 3 keepers next season, as they have that Georgian from Valencia. Okay. Didn't know that. GP, still taking E's in the 90s. Maybe even earlier than that, mate. I'm old. I'm really old. Ray. Good evening to you. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I know you work 9 till 5. 9 to... okay. Yes. Ian, I'd be happy to see a Gerd back in a Potter team. I think he hated the 100% defense world of Moyes that exhausted him and stunted his other abilities. Yeah, that's a good shout. Jerry, academy players to break through, Fearon and Gollum Beckis, maybe into regular. Well, no, they're already playing. Fearon's good, isn't he? The central midfield. I like him. Gollum Beckis, yeah. Do you mean breaking through into the senior team? Probably be a couple of seasons, though, to be quite honest with you. So, yeah. City did not lose. You see, that's my fault for only watching half the game. They were 1-0 up, weren't they? Oh, more for. I didn't watch the rest of the game. What's Plymouth? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Plymouth were winning 1-0. Am I wrong there? That was embarrassing. What about Pope, the Newcastle number 2? And he's a Londoner. Good shout. Yeah. Dean Seisdale. It was great to hear transfer news from Sean Whetstone today. He started to feel positive about the future. Sully thinks we can't let that chuck a bucket of cold sick over them. I didn't understand that, mate. I know Sean talked about that we might have to sell a big player in order to build the squad again. But who knows? Maybe not. Mark, would you take 20 million plus Maguire from Man U for Tadibo? No, because Maguire is on something like 200 grand a week. So absolutely not. Tadebo's only 25 years old. I don't know how old Maguire is. No. Leon, Kelleher contract is to 26, Liverpool to 2026. Liverpool trying to make him sign a new contract. Thank you for that. Who else have we got here? Colin Stell, make Kelleher current contract ends in 2026. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Dads, are you serious about stadium? What would it cost? I don't know. Dads, did you reply what you would do with the stadium? You're going to have to rewrite it, I'm afraid, because I didn't see your reply to what I said. Howard, don't slide into your OnlyFans script, Steels after dark. Stel, do you think we will get a result against Brentford? There will be a result against Brentford. Could be a win, could be a draw, could be a defeat. No, but in all seriousness, no, look, they're a tough team. They're a tough team. They're a team that are a bit of a bogey team for us, but a bogey team only under the likes of Moyes and Lopetegui. No, actually, Lopetegui, we only drew with them, didn't we? Yes, I do think we'll beat them, to be quite honest with you, but it won't be easy. Green Street Greg, a Gerd or 30 million? Good point. What could you do with 30 million? Under Macaulay and Potter, you probably get a player and have a few quid change, maybe. Good question, that. Who else have we got? I would love to see GP Stell as a captain and Gio Gonzo sailors. I don't know what show you're thinking about, but I'm not going there. Bonnie, Patrick Kelly came on for Doncaster tonight. Looked good for the few minutes he was on. He's had quite a bit of game time as well. Jack, what do you guys think about James Ward-Prowse? I think it's good. I think it adds to the depth of the squad. Do I think he's going to walk into the first 11? I doubt it. Do I think he's better than Souček or Alvarez? On par, maybe. He offers us something different. He's good, but I think he'll be more from the bench. Stephen, I think this summer transfer window will be a lot different to what we're used to, where there will be names we sign that would have hardly heard of, and touchwood done a lot quieter. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Yeah, and I did kind of say it when I did one of the last transfer window shows the other week, that I was just getting bored with it. I stopped doing a show. I think I did a show and then I waited until 3 or 4 days before I did another show. And it was coming up to the end of the transfer window. And normally you'd expect, show after show after show. We're in for this player. I got bored talking about players that I knew was the stories were just a load of rubbish. And I get, I've got no, I'm all right with other channels doing that. Fair play to them. They can only give you the news that's out there. But I kept reading stuff and I kept thinking, that is definitely 100% not going to happen. I can't even be bothered to talk about it. Why go through the process of looking up a player's details? What are they like? What are their tactics? What are their skills? What best positions do they play in? What best formation do they play in? I thought, what's the point? We're not going to sign these players anyway. So what's the point? So I think you're absolutely right, Stephen. I think this summer is going to be very different. We're going to start seeing the equivalents of the Mitomas appearing and the Trossards appearing and the likes of Cucurella. Well, he's a bit of a anyway, but that kind of player appearing and the Caicedos and players like that, players that we kind of may have heard of, maybe have been aware of, and all of a sudden, bang, they're in 5 mil, 10 mil, 15 million pound players. You know what's going to happen there, don't you? You know what's going to happen. I can see it straight away. We'll buy a player for 10 mil, 23 years of age, and someone's going to go, what's wrong with us? Why are we buying these players, these nobodies? What's going on with West Ham? Where's the ambition? Is what you're going to get, which is the unfortunate thing. I've got trust in. Look, I won't lie. Before Potter arrived at West Ham, I was like, I don't know, is he really the right person for us? He's won me out within the 5 weeks. Well, before that, within a short space of time, he's won me over. And I started looking up more about what he did at Brighton, etc. And then I started to read about Carl McCauley before we signed him, and I thought, if we can get Carl McCauley, where is he? Oh, he's at Chelsea. Oh, it'll probably cost us a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, we're getting Carl McCauley in, and I'm thinking, and when I think about what we've done with Potter in terms of offering him a 2.5-year deal, and the first thing that he did before he thought about what players we might want during the transfer window, he went, I want Carl McCauley to be my right-hand man. And that made me go, this is what's going to happen. This is a turning point for us. Okay, I'm going to hold my hands up. I'm going to say the same thing. I said it about Tim Steidten. When we brought Tim Steidten in, I said this is a revolutionary for West Ham in the way that we're going to sign players, and it didn't materialise. And maybe the question I was asked about Ashworth, would Sullivan let go of the reins, is a valid point. Has that got an awful lot to do with David Sullivan not letting go? But with McCauley coming in, I mean, we were going to sign Andre Silva as an example, the Portuguese striker who was playing at Leipzig and then went to, I think, Werder Bremen. And he was about. I kept asking, why are we still linked with Andre Silva? And I kept being told, if we don't get Ferguson, he's the backup striker that we're going to go for. But it's backup, it's last resort. But it was Potter who apparently put a stop to that. It was Potter that turned around and said, no, this is the player I want. I don't know what would have happened if we didn't get Ferguson. I wonder if we didn't get Ferguson, whether we would have got a striker in at all, or whether Potter would have just made do with what he has. But it was clear to him that Andre Silva was not the sort of player that Potter wanted. He knows already how he's going to utilize Ferguson in the setup that he's got. You've only got to look at how he's already changed formations. He's moved players around, etc., to get the best out of them. He's going to get the best out of Ferguson for as long as we got him. It may not be anyway. It may not be past the end of this season. Let's wait and see on that. So I think you're absolutely right. I think we're going to get players in that we're going to scratch our head. All the ITKs are going to go, oh, I knew about him 8 years ago before he was born, and all that sort of shit. We are going to get players that we will go, who, what, where? He played football in where? Cuba. Who is he? That's what will happen. Sharky, he's a decent player. JWP, it's good to have him as an option. Absolutely agree. Pudgy was drunk enough to sleep on a bench last night. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Dear, oh dear. Toha, do you think there has been any sale of foddering shirts? Yeah, I'm sure there have. Jerry, Bowen as a wing back is absolutely Thank you. I got absolutely slaughtered for having the temerity to suggest that on Twitter. I got absolutely slaughtered. You don't know what you're talking about. Who are you? My girl, all this. And it's like, it works. It does work. And also, let's not forget, Potter has a fluid formation. They don't just stick to a 3-4-2-1 or 3-2-4-1. They move around. They morph, don't they? They'll go from a 3 to a 5 to a 4 to whatever is suitable at the time. Bill, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Bowen and Kudus on the right could work similar to when Somerville was injured. Thank you. Ian, James Ward-Prowse, some abilities Potter will like, not least he runs and runs pressing. He's got a nuisance value in that whoever has the ball, he'll be after them. Certainly gives options for in-game changes. Absolutely. GP, Fulkrug is the worst striker we've ever signed. No, he's not. Nesareko, go and look him up. I think he was the most expensive players we signed. He was the most expensive player we signed at that time. Nesareko, I think that's how you pronounce his name. So no, he's not the worst player because at least Fulkrug has scored a goal. What else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Gaz, I would definitely start Ward-Prowse instead of Souček. I definitely wouldn't, mate, to be quite honest with you. Even Potter has turned around and gone, I tried to buy Souček when I was at Brighton. Managers see a value in the likes of Souček that we don't see. Maybe, as I've said in the past, because Souček is not the glamour player. He doesn't have, he can't cross. He can't do a slide rule pass. He can't, he hasn't got the skills of the Paquetas and all that sort of stuff. So we kind of think, well, what's his value? Potter sees a value, because just like Ward-Prowse, as the other chap just said about running, Souček puts his heart and soul in, and he is a match winner as well. So I don't know, mate, to be honest with you. Stephen, Cotti and McAvenny, last proper strike force we had. Were they? No. I reckon who were the two we bought? Kitson and Hartson. I say were the last good strike force we had. Come on. They were pretty good. Usual. If it's still a windy at the weekend, you won't be seeing Ings on the pitch. That fabulous hair cannot blow off. Daniela, that's cruel. Daniela, do you think next we do the squad to get us in the top 8 and possibly I do think we have the squad to get us in the top 8. It's possible. I thought Plymouth beat Liverpool 1-0. Who's winding me? Am I in some twilight zone? Paul, as we need so many new signings in the summer, think we should have Premier League or Championship experience. That way they will settle in quicker. But as I've said earlier on, I don't know if we're going to need that many signings. There's going to be a lot of players possibly leaving. Like I said, 5, 6 players, something like that, end of their contracts. Do I think many of them will get new contracts? I'm not so sure they will. But then we've got the academy. So maybe it won't be as bad. City beat Orient. Sorry, there you go. It was Plymouth that played Liverpool. City beat Orient. Sorry, I got it confused. See, FA Cup, not interested. Don't know who was playing who. So there you go. Pope over 30, so no. But then for a goalkeeper, it doesn't really matter, does it, that you're over 30? Brian, if Guilherme comes half good by the end of the season, it will make selling Kudus easier to take, especially for 85 million. Yeah, good point. GP, is it? I've got to read that one. Isn't he over 80? Oh, sorry, wrong Pope. Boom, boom. That Green Street Greg, that Pope prefers to play with the... Howard, Pope, yeah, let's not go there, people. Usual suspect, tassels or nipple clamps? Tassel loafers that I still wear every now and again when I go on my mod nights out. There you go. Got around that one. Lee, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Colin, if this is the side I would pick at the weekend. Areola, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, Scarles, Paqueta, Alvarez, Soler, Kudus, Ferguson, Bowen. Not bad. Who else have we got? Toho. Now I remember Richard Harris getting that treatment in The Man Called Horse. God, what you lot just go off on a complete tangent, don't you? I mean, you've got your own little sort of world going on in here. Darren, Bowen's best position was on the right, so why couldn't he play right wing back? You tell me. You go on Twitter and defend me, mate. I don't know. I got absolutely, torn a shred. Cyber Leader, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I hope everything is well with you. if you want to be the best and stand out from all the rest, Howard, Cockney, good evening, mate. I don't know. David Kelly was a pretty poor striker for us. Yeah. How about Boogers? He wasn't a striker, though, was he? Marco, but wasn't he a midfielder? I thought. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sty, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. 100%. Hartson and Kitson, what a turnaround that was. We were going to get relegated. That was under Harry, wasn't it? And Hartson and Kitson were. So Hartson was mad as a bag of frogs, but he's good. Marco Boogers was a very bad. Wasn't Boogers? Boogers weren't a striker. I thought he was a midfielder. Cyber, do we sell a player like Paqueta and aim for a younger centre midfielder or a forward? Only if we can sell Paqueta, because we may not be able to sell him at the end of this season, depending on what happens with the FA hearing. Would I sell Paqueta? I'm beginning to see him beginning to enjoy his football, and I think he's got a lot more to offer, to be quite honest with you. As frustrating as he's been, I don't know. Good question, though. Good question. Cotter and McAvenny couldn't operate without a Mark Ward. Yeah, good point. Billy, we need another player like Di Canio. I don't know. I'm kind of, I get that, you know, an icon and all that sort of stuff, a Payet, a Di Canio, etc. But don't you want more skillful players around across the whole pitch? We don't want to be a one-man team again, to be honest with you. I'm at the Riverside East still on Saturday. Where is the Riverside East? I actually seriously don't know. Tell me where it is. Clearly, I won't be there because I don't even know where it is. Good evening, Gary. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Leslie, Boogers, Defo striker. Did you not see? Well, yes, I did see the striker against the Man United player. That was his first game? I didn't think. Why did I not think he was a striker? I could be wrong. Dean Ashton was blinding. Dean Ashton on his own was a blinding striker. I thought he was a midfielder. Yes, I thought so. Jack, gutted about Somerville injury. Think he has been one of our better players this season. I agree with that. Really happy when we signed him along with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It's called the Riverside East. Oh, the old supporters club. Yeah, no, I won't be there, mate. I'm afraid not. Bonnie, are you waving a flag? Oh, my fuck. Fuck it. No. Fair play to them. I can't criticize. Because they're doing something that I'm not doing. I can't remember the name of the people that are sorting it out. But apparently there was a meeting. I don't know. Some of you may have read the Twitter post that Sean Whetstone put on, talking about there were a select few groups, fan groups, that were met with the board last week, the week before, whatever. And one of the outcomes of it was that the flags. Do you remember a couple of seasons ago? I think it was that. I think before the start of a game and at half time, there were a number of people walking around the stadium with all the old flags of the old badges that we had. And now apparently it's been agreed that people can have a flag in the Bobby Moore lower. No. Is that really going to make the atmosphere better? No. The atmosphere is going to get better by the football that's played on the pitch, because we've seen it all before, haven't we? When we're playing good football and we're winning and etc. and we're doing really well, it raises the fan base. The fan base gets behind the players, and you get an atmosphere in the stadium. Creating an atmosphere where I've been to games around Europe, you know, where Frankfurt, for example, the semi-final in the Europa League a few years ago was an absolutely incredible experience. Yeah, we turned up there. We turned up thinking we were early, the West Ham fans. We turned up 2 hours earlier. The Eintracht Frankfurt fans were already there, already singing flares and flags, the whole caboodle. It's just a different way of fans doing things. It's not in our culture, is it? Regrettably, in some ways, we can't wave flags and all that sort of stuff. We don't do that. You know, our away support, you can't go to any away game. It's superb, non-stop singing. Especially recently, whether we win or lose or whatever, the atmosphere at Chelsea on Monday night was absolutely fantastic. You know, we lost the game, but the fans sang from start to finish. You know, the only time we heard the Chelsea fans sing was when they scored, and then they said, "You're not singing anymore." Fucking irony. You're not singing it. Really? We went momentarily quiet when you got your lucky goal with VAR, and you got your other lucky goal because of I don't know, Bowen being fouled, etc. But that's all we heard of them. So we've got the atmosphere. We can do the atmosphere. I've got no disrespect to, I can't remember what they're called. I'll have to look it up on Twitter. The fan base that's doing all this, trying to get the atmosphere going. They're based in the Bobby Moore Lower, where I am as well, and they do try and get the fans singing, etc. And all credit to them, fair play to them. But at the same time, do I think waving flags is going to get the fans going? No, it ain't. To be honest with you, I think what will get the fans going is watching good football. And I think now finally we've got some good football to watch, and that will get the spirits of the fans up and it will get behind them. And I actually think the atmosphere is going to be really good on Saturday, to be honest. I think it will be. Billy, if we sign players that we've never heard of next summer, we'll be good. Look how Souček turned out. Good point. And never heard of him before he came to us. Absolutely spot on. You know what's going to be really interesting? And I've got to decide what I want to do when it comes to the summer transfer window. Do I just go for it? Do I just talk about every player that's out there that we're linked to? Or do I be a bit clever and select the sort of shows I do? Because the minute you hear about some player that's playing in the Ecuadorian league, you know, and he's a centre back or whatever, that's when my ears are going to prick up and go, there might be something in that. Why? Because he's the sort of player, like you've just mentioned, Billy, sort of player that we've not heard of before, and all of a sudden he could be coming to West Ham. When you start hearing about, that's why I got really bored about talking about, you know, the number of times people talked about Jonathan David and Gomez coming from Lille to West Ham. I'd love it. We'd all love it, but we know it's not going to happen. But people got so many shows out of it, you know, and so, you know, social media column write-ups, etc., about players that just aren't coming to West Ham, you know, and that got really, really boring. So I'll make you right, Billy. I reckon, you know, we're going to get a Souček type player none of us have heard of before, and before we know it, he's signed for West Ham. Cockney, Hartson will put his face where others feared, and he will put his boots on people's faces. If you remember, who was it? What was the player that he kicked in training? I'm really bad with names. Colin. Boogers was a striker. He was a striker. Stel cannot remember what a Dutch side came from. Centre forward, end up living in. Yeah, I remember. I don't know why I didn't think he was a striker. I don't know. Darren, my brother and mate went. It was superb. It was superb. They made us walk. Was that the one where they made us walk through a bloody woods, like a forest, to get there? Yes, it was. We had to circle. We got off on the train. The train was pulling in. You saw the stadium to your left, and we thought, oh, that's good. It's not very far to walk. And then they took us off and we had to walk right round. And it took like about a 25, 30-minute walk before we actually got to the stadium to avoid the Frankfurt fans. But their atmosphere was superb. Their atmosphere was superb. Cockney. Yes, that's right. It was someone give me his name. Berkovic. Thank you very much. I don't know what I said well, but thank you for that, Richard. I can't remember what I said a minute ago, mate. That's old age. It's old age. Darren, Stel, how did you get on with joining the over 60s team? I haven't. Thank you for the info, by the way. Really, really appreciate it. I just simply haven't had time. Actually, work has been we're going through a lot of shit at works and it's been really busy. But thank you so much for sending me that information. Much appreciated. I hate the flag bollocks. Look, fair play to Irons something. Irons. Fair play to them for doing it. I've got no problem with it. Do I think it'll work? I think there's more important things like concessions to sort out, which hasn't been sorted out yet. Toha, the chat does elevate the show, though, Leslie. What did Leslie say? This is up and down show. Yeah. For those of you who know, I got stuck in a lift a couple of weeks ago. We missed the whole first half of the game. All the Dutch lads came over as well. And it was just, anyway. Yeah, no, thank you. Didn't get stuck. I haven't been stuck in a lift since. Paul, just do a show when they have signed. Everything else is bullshit. Absolutely. It was Hartson and Berkovic. Absolutely. Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, through the park. Yeah, it was. It wasn't a park. It was a woods. It was woods. It was a forest. Right. An hour and 29 minutes. No one's asking questions. I don't have any more news for you. I really don't. Sharky, need to stop letting I'm gonna be a bit controversial here. Need to stop letting away fans in on the home end. I'm gonna be a bit controversial. How many of you have gone to a West Ham game and sat in the home end? I've done it, and I did it more than a few times. Especially in the early days when I was going to, not living in East London. I live in Northwest London. All my mates, school and all that sort of stuff. No one was a West Ham fan over this side. They're all Chelsea fans. QPR is the nearest stadium to me. The nearest professional stadium to me. So QPR fans and family growing up in North London, Arsenal, family and cousins and all that. Either Arsenal or Spurs. So I was surrounded by Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea fans, QPR fans, all that sort of. I didn't have any West Ham mates, and there were times when I couldn't get an away ticket, so I had mates. Chelsea fans would go, "Do you want to go and see where you want to see you smash? Yeah, we will smash you at Stamford Bridge. You want to come?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure." You got to sit in the home end, and I did it. I did it many a time. Going to Stamford Bridge and going to other stadiums and sitting in the home end, watching my team play. You couldn't say anything if we scored. You had to just keep your mouth shut. I've done it. I've done it many a time. People still do it now. How many times do we see fans going, "I can't get a ticket in the away end. Oh, but I know someone that's going to get me a ticket." We do it. Look, I'm not saying it's right. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not having a go at you, Sharky, either. But it happens. It happens even more at the London Stadium. We know what fans have done. Well, not West Ham fans, but we know what people have done when the season tickets first came out. Season tickets when they were £99 each or whatever they were. Fans from other teams would go, "Do you know what? I'm going to buy one of those season tickets because if I only go to watch just the top games like West Ham against Chelsea, West Ham Arsenal, West Ham Liverpool, etc., it's worth the money." And that's stayed, that's lingered. And how else apart from those individuals, the reason why we're getting away fans in the home end, you're not going to like this either, is because home fans are selling their tickets to away fans wherever they, I don't know, put them up on these ticket groups or whatever. And if they're not vetted, then you're going to get the away fans buying the home end tickets. And it's a shame, but it's going to get worse, isn't it? Especially with the concessions not happening, etc. West Ham United and every other Premier League football team is going to want to have their stadium filled. They couldn't give a monkeys if the stadium is filled with West Ham fans or away fans or neutral fans. It's the unfortunate way it's going. That's why concessions, with the greatest of respect, Ironworks Alliance for doing the flags and all that sort of stuff. That's why concessions is the biggest danger to teams like West Ham. Well, every Premier League team. We've got to fight to keep concessions. Forget about the flag waving. The atmosphere will create itself if there's something to be atmospheric about. But it's the concession tickets that we've all got to be fighting. And then maybe that way you'll get the hardcore fans coming back and less away fans being able to sit in the home end. I don't know. I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Green Street, always jealous of European atmosphere. Frankfurt, Dortmund, etc. They are superb. Look, we can create. We did it. We did it when we hosted Lyon and when we hosted Seville. We know we can do it. We know we can. One of the early games at the stadium, the FA Cup game. Do you remember when their fans were trying to get across the barriers in the FA Cup when we beat them 2-1? It was the first game I took my better half to at the new stadium, and we were sitting quite close to the away end, and she started seeing people coming over, and we were winning 2-1, and she went, "Come on, let's go." And I went, "No, there's 3 minutes added time or whatever." And all she was looking at All she was looking at were Chelsea fans trying to climb over to get to West Ham fans. She was literally, we got to go. I'm like, why? Oh, look, they're going to beat us. No, they're not going to beat us up. Leave it. Don't worry about it. But the atmosphere that night was absolutely buzzing. That was an early game at the stadium. So we know we can do it. It's doing it regularly, though, isn't it? Do I think flags is going to help? No. Foxes stuck in a lift for 45 minutes and no video. Mate, there is a video, but I'm not putting it up on here. No, Howard, no. Cockney, I went to Frankfurt without a ticket, went to the ICF Bash instead. Was that good? I bet you it was. I'll tell you, it was quite touchy in the centre, wasn't it, in Frankfurt? I remember we walked past a Frankfurt pub and it felt quite concerning. They said how you mingled. Leslie, oh dear, what can the matter be? Simon, what's a slow news week? Don't tell me I misspelt it. Did I misspell it? Please, hang on. Let me go and have a look. Let me wind up. Juha, I hope West Ham would come and scout young Finnish players. Man City, Brentford and Forest seem to sign them all. Well, with Macaulay coming in, who knows? Sai, I've been all over and sat on my hands. Exactly. You do it, don't you? But you behave yourself. You know, you do it and you know you're doing it. The last thing you want to do is draw attention to yourself, especially when you've just scored, you know, and you just do that. You sit on your hands, you stay quiet and until that game is over. Darren, it's not where the fans sit, it's how they, there you go, it's how they behave. What made me support West Ham? Oh, God, it's a long story. Like I said, didn't live in the area, so you know, I wanted a team of my own. My old man wasn't really into football, and we used to have students staying from Cyprus, and in the house that we had. And whenever they used to go, you know, they come over, they study here, and whenever they used to want to go to football, they go, "Let's go Arsenal, Arsenal, Arsenal." Oh, fucking! And we used to go to Arsenal, and oh, fuck me, fucking hated it. Absolutely, I just wanted a team of my own, and the reason why I started to support West Ham is because I read about West Ham and one of the first teams to break into Europe in the 60s and one of the first teams to the academy, etc. Ironically, I had a school teacher, my PE teacher was a Spurs fan who also did Europe in the 60s, you know, Terry Dyson, who used to teach us football and PE. And I cringe when I think about it. I could have easily gone to support Spurs. Would have been a lot easier. I lived in North London, Greek community and all that sort of stuff, but I wanted a team of my own. There you go. Didn't live in the area, wasn't raised in the area, had no one I knew that supported West Ham, and there you go. Neil, it's the only way to Frankfurt ground from the train station. No, it's not. As far I could be wrong. I'm sure they made us walk round the long way. You might be right. I thought there was an actual exit for the Frankfurt fans to go a lot closer. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, let's put it this way. That was the only route I knew of. Foxes, the old Stamford Bridge was better than the London Stadium, closer to the pitch. It was big open space. Was it better? I don't know. There you go. I heard the North Bank sing Bubbles. I was hooked. There you go. Bill, companies were buying season tickets, good corporate dealings with clients. There you go. And they sell, you know, easy, cheap, weren't they? Darren, I remember queuing for hours on a Saturday to get into the North Bank. Trini, the Premier League is dead for regular atmosphere compared to all the other major leagues. Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Who else have we got? Bill, was it true that we went in for Marco? No, it wasn't true. I'd have him back in a heartbeat. No, I wouldn't. There's bad blood there. How about? Absolutely no way. Not the way after he treated us. Absolutely not. You know, no. His brother, I never forget when he was leaving the club, and his brother, where I am in the Bobby Moore Lower, you got the stands, the upper, where all the celebs are, and you know the directors and all that. And someone spotted Someone spotted Arnautovic's brother and started giving him stick, and he just was doing all that, and he was sort of waving back. Well, he was doing all that. I know, and no, absolutely no way, no way. It's in the news title, News Wheat. Is it? I can see it. Slow news wheat. All right, I'll fix that later on. I'll fix that. No, on. Toho, nowhere in this chat would wind you up. Yeah, of course you bloody wouldn't. Brian, still, if you could choose two players, dead players, if you could choose West Ham players, dead or alive, to spend an afternoon in a lift with, who would you choose? Bobby Moore and Alan Devonshire. He's not dead. Alan Devonshire was my favourite player. You know, that you talk about skillful players, you talk about the DiCanios of this world. If Alan Devonshire had been playing football now, what would he be worth? 60, 70, 80 million pounds, Devs? He did that on turf that was like carved up. Imagine him playing on football pitches that we have now. What? Alan Devonshire. NWO. They priced people out of the stands. Sky changed everything. Stadiums were empty before, and society has changed a lot. I'm a definite out of towner, mate, as I keep being reminded day after day. So it's spelled. I know. I can see it above me now. It's still spelt wrong, and I was in North London too, and in Frankfurt. If you were on train, you were in the. If you're on the train, you were in the. That is true. They didn't have turnstiles, did they, Si? If only a lot of people knew that. We turned up, and all you have to do was just push a little bit to get in. They had no turnstiles. You went all that effort to get the tickets, and then you had no turnstiles. You had to walk through the security people. Wasn't that weird? Usual. Stamford Bridge had a dock track around it at one time, or am I dreaming? I think you're right. Dalton, Stel, what was the first team you saw as a West Ham fan? I genuinely don't remember. I was 14 years of age. It was a midweek game. It was 1976. And I said to my mum, I'm going to see West Ham. She went, not on your life. No way. You don't even know where it is. And I went, I'm going. And I genuinely don't remember who we played. All I remember was it was a midweek game. And I'm not a tall guy. And I was even shorter at 14. And I saw not a lot. But the atmosphere got me. And I was hooked. So I genuinely don't remember who it was we played. Trini, Devonshire was a Rolls-Royce winger. He was indeed. Devo worth 120 million today. Why not? Absolutely. Delton, Billy Bonds, Thor, the Mighty Hammer was my favourite hammer. GP. Stamford Bridge staged its first Greyhound meeting on the 30th of July, 1933, with attendances increasing at every meeting, sometimes in the something usual suspect. James, if your lift video is half as good as the hostage video, look forward to 1 million. My dad has got pics of him and Devo with the FA Cup. Fantastic. Yes, I am. I am 62, aging by the day. Right, that's it. I thought it was a greyhound track, dog track, Grahams. Greyhounds are dogs, aren't they? Still, I'm back from Barbados. I hope it rained every day and it's bloody freezing. Yes, Chelsea had a dog track and we called it the pitch. We called the pitch a duck pond. Mark, good evening. I'm just about to go. You didn't miss much because it was a slow news week. Daniela Trevor Brookin, another great player. Absolutely. Right. I've just carved up another 15 minutes out of that. So thank you for that. Oh, damn you, Si. My mum barred me too. I got caught out when Charlie George broke my nose and glasses because Mervyn Day threw the ball to him. And he smashed it in the North Bank when it was easy. I like that. I mean, yeah, I was 14, and I was going to the other, for me, it was the other side of the world, going to the other side of London. And we didn't have the Jubilee line that takes you all the way there from where I live now. No, you had to change at King's Cross and all that malarkey. I had no idea where I was going, but it was great. And I haven't looked back since. Right. That's it. Thank you very much, people. Really much appreciated. Thank you for the chat because it has been slow news week. But I will come back with a couple of shows during the week when there's some news to talk about. Of course, we've got a game coming up, so I've got to talk about that. So I will do a preview of the show. Friday night might be back. I've got to get in touch with the Shed Man and find out if he's available. So do look out for that as well. And what we'll do on Friday night is, we'll talk about what's happened over the last few weeks, of course. So that will be worth doing. So look out for those as well. Ronnie, I bet you're disappointed with me. I'm not a proper East Londoner, am I? He shot his miss. He shot. He shot. He missed. He must be bloody pissed. Charlie George. Darren, thanks again. Much appreciated. Thank you. You made the night. You made the night. So thank you very much. Have a good week. See you all later in the week when I do the preview, and look out for the Friday night show as well. And until then, see you all later.